Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 it's the Carolina Underground, and we're back again. Coming to you live from the replica Batcave with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors in the deep, dark depths of Sparkleberry.
Good evening, sir, and how are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not going to tell no stories like I did last week.
Probably in the best interest. I mean, I don't know what the statute of limitations on that story might have been.
I was kind of thinking that too, and I was like, I might not need to do that. So we're just going to leave that alone for right now.
Yes,
What's been
sir.
going on?
Well, it's one of those things that, my girlfriend has gotten the latest whatever variant of COVID that's going around, and she has the flu on top of that. So
Well, now it ain't the COVID. Now it's that dad blame bird flu.
Yeah, and I've heard that the cost of eggs has gone through the roof, and
well, because of the bird flu, the birds are getting the bird flu.
Yep. Well, and again, a big part of that is because of the way we do this corporate farming stuff, and from what I'd read, and I have no idea if this is actually accurate or not, but the whole corporate farming where they have these, hen factories and stuff like that, where they're just constantly feeding them antibiotics and force feeding them, and they never get to move and all that stuff, and then they kill them. It happened kind of by accident. From what I understand, there was a woman that went into farming, and it was a woman that started it, and somehow she wound up with a whole lot more chickens than she had intended. And I can't remember all the details, obviously, but at any rate, instead of giving any of the chickens away, she kept them all, put them in those tiny little hen boxes like that, and was feeding them and everything. And that was where all of this stuff, at least in the poultry industry, started. But, again, I saw a clip just today talking about, the fact that, birth to slaughterhouse in the cattle industry used to take 18 months. Now it's 6 months because of the steroids and the antibiotics and the way that we farm them. And of course, the fact that they're being force fed grain instead of grass. And again, that's one of the things that I forget. I should have paid more attention to that, but they were talking is metabolic collapse. He was showing what metabolic collapse looks like, and the reason and what would happen normally with this metabolic collapse is the animal would just die because of the quality of because of the way of the treatment, the way that it had been raised and forced to grow. But we slaughter them before they get to the point where they die. So, but again, we're doing this, and I mean, you can see it in the children, because when I was a child, you had a very small number of young girls and young boys that really were starting to develop before they were about 13 or 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's common, very, very common. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, we got Kennedy. Has Kennedy
I
actually
like
been
Bobby
confirmed
Kennedy.
yet, or are they still
Well,
dragging their feet?
he's still dragging their feet. And the funny thing about that, somebody did a meme with Kennedy sitting there kind of grimacing, and you got Elizabeth Warren screeching.
Oh yeah,
I do think
I
the
saw
lady
that.
does screech too much, where she does, oh, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa. And
yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I understand the gravity and the doing and the interviewing and the asking the questions. But at some point, I wish one of them would just look at them and say, you know what? It really don't matter because you ain't going to vote for me anyway. Why don't you go sit in the corner and pretend to be the fucking Indian that you said you was and just shut the fuck up?
Well, and I think Cash Patel pretty well put most of them in their place. What I saw of Bobby Kennedy, he put them in their place.
Well, I saw something really interesting. You know, we have these the influencers, and you and I have
Mm-hmm.
discussed them, and there's one called one that what is his name? Something Charles, but he's John Charles something. I don't know. He's a
Mm.
TikToker, YouTuber. He's I don't know what he is. He is. Well, he gets
I
on
don't
there
know what
about
he is,
Bobby.
but whatever it is, he is.
Yeah, he flaps his gums. He don't know what he's talking about, and he has a platform of multi millions of people that he's flapping his gums to. And it's like, he doesn't want Bobby Kennedy to be health secretary because of how many packs of cigarettes he had to smoke to get his voice to sound like that. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe if you would do a
Did he?
little research
Yeah, he
instead of
seriously
keeping,
believes that it
yeah,
was
that's what he said.
cigarettes.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
what he said.
God.
And I'm sitting here thinking, and this is supposed to be, I don't know. I'm
Well,
just, well, of course, he's been
the fact.
ridiculed and lambasted.
Yeah,
What he needs to do is go back onto OnlyFans, keep the penis in his mouth, and leave the words to the people that have two brain cells.
well, again, and to anybody that is not aware, Bobby Kennedy's vocal cords are paralyzed due to a disease,
Disease,
and
right?
he is. I think it's like less than 3% of the people that have this disease ever get to the point where they can speak at all again.
Correct, correct.
And
And
so,
Bobby
yeah.
Kennedy did say, I caught part of it. I don't listen to a lot of these confirmation hearings and crap because it just really gets on my nerves
Oh yeah.
that we're wasting time and money. I mean, let's face it, if Donald Trump won the election, elections have consequences. If these are the people that he wants, who are 49 or 50 Democrats, they're not any more qualified to be in Washington than anybody else.
No, they're not. As a matter of fact, they're probably significantly less qualified, but go ahead.
Correct.
I mean,
But
again, but this is
but
what
Bobby
you get when
Kennedy's
you
sitting.
hire
Well, wait
morons.
a minute. Bobby Kennedy's sitting there, and he's saying, he said that I feel it's kind of funny that up until this election, most of y'all were my friends, writing me personal notes and telling me what good work we're doing and coming to my house and all this other stuff. And now, because I've on a side that you don't necessarily agree with, now you have trying to disown me and all this stuff, to where 20 minutes before you wanted to hang out, come to my house, you wanted donations and everything else.
But that's the difference between people that rely on logic and people that rely on or that take their emotions
Hmm.
as fact.
Well, and I will flat out tell you, do I believe in everything Bobby Kennedy believes in? No, I can't
No,
think of one person that I believe in everything that they believe in.
absolutely right. You're
But he's
100%
got to
correct.
be better than what we've had.
Well, but again, the biggest
The
thing.
woman that was a man that
Mhm.
became an admiral that ordinarily I don't even think could have got in the military. And then you had that other one that was running around in high heels and red dresses stealing women's suitcases because he saw women's clothes in them he wanted to keep.
Well, but again, this is it's the folks that don't recognize that reality is based on facts. And the thing that I was going to point out about Bobby Kennedy is Bobby Kennedy also says, look, I don't know. I think we need to open investigations into this because and we need to have science with peer review and duplicated results.
Not the
Okay.
World Health Organization science,
Correct.
real
Right.
science.
Actual science. It's not funded by the organization that's using the science to, like, the food pyramid. I mean, how many years did we grow up with the food pyramid and, telling us that we needed to be eating a bunch of grains and a bunch of sugars and, staying away from fat. Well,
Well,
your
my
body
food
runs on
pyramid
fat.
is more just kind of a line. I eat zebra cake rolls and triple goat pecker coffee.
Well, there you go. But, the point of the matter being, then just a very few years ago, and I mean, I raised my children based on that food pyramid to the best of my ability. And
Well,
then
and it
we
was
turn
garbage.
around and it was garbage. It was pure BS that was done by the sugar industry to
and
get
the cereal
people,
companies.
to get people to eat more stuff that's not good for you and has no nutritional value. Okay. And
Which goes back to the point that
mhm,
you and I have made incessantly
yeah.
over our episodes, that the federal government is not only the biggest employer, the biggest creditor, and the
hmm
biggest lender and the biggest debtor in our country, they're also the reason for 99% of the problems that most Americans have.
Oh, well, absolutely. And again, this was pointed out in the recent airline disaster. Okay. And this is important to me because I am a pilot. Okay. And where the American Airlines was hit by the training helicopter. Okay. Up
Which,
there.
as Trump was lambasted because he said he thought the helicopter was flying too high, and the last report that I saw showed that the helicopter was twice the height that it was supposed to have been.
And yeah, exactly. Now, I haven't seen that report, but they were high. But again, they're flying a training mission without the electronics turned on that tell air traffic control where they are. Okay. Why you would do that and why you would go out in a training mission without ADSB is beyond my capability because I use that when I'm flying so that I don't get involved in anybody's, with anything and I don't get that high. But again, and they're flying right into the glide slope landing run Ronald Reagan International. Now, I mean, unless you're doing something.
Well, now I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but that sounds kind of stupid to me.
It does. But again, the biggest problem was the fact that the place was supposed to be staffed with 30 members. They had 19. They let somebody go home early. And again, these folks are working 10-hour shifts 6 days a week. Okay. That, and again, the government, the bottom line is everything works better when the government is kept out of it. Okay. Nearly everything. Now, the government is supposed to be like a gigantic, the United States government is supposed to be a gigantic referee, basically, and that's it. They're not supposed to control anything. They're just supposed to make sure that the kind of crap that's going on isn't
Ain't
done
going on.
by the states. Okay. And again, but I was reminded of the Mustang Ranch. Now, you remember the Mustang Ranch was a house of ill repute, a house of the rising sun, whatever euphemism. It was a whorehouse. Okay.
I think we need more whorehouses and less politicians.
Well, the thing this story I'm talking about, right? Where they were doing, they were bringing up the folks on racketeering charges and stuff like that. Well, while they're doing the investigation, they have the government, while it's performing an investigation, has a fiduciary responsibility to maintain the establishment during the time frame of the investigation. While the investigation's going and the person being investigated can't manage their asset. The government has a fiduciary responsibility to keep it going until they know what's going on with it and the investigation is complete, so that if it turns out that the government is wrong, the person can go back in and resume their business. And
Right.
whorehouses are legal in Nevada. Now, they bankrupted a whorehouse. Now, you want to talk about a proven business model that has been around and tried, true, and tested
Since
for
the beginning of
since
time, baby.
since the beginning of time, and the federal government can't manage it. Okay, but that's, it's just, what do you expect when you take a bunch of lawyers that couldn't hack it as a lawyer and you put them in a position of power and control? This is what you get.
Well, it's like this. Imagine you're an idiot, okay?
I don't have to imagine I'm an idiot.
Well, imagine you're an idiot. And now
Sorry.
imagine you're a member of Congress. But wait, I
Wait,
repeated myself.
yeah, don't repeat yourself.
God bless Mark Twain.
That's it.
But the fun, I actually, we rail about the government and stuff, and the problem, Donald Trump getting in office and Donald Trump draining the swamp, no matter how much Donald Trump's fans are going to rip and hoot and holler, he's not going to fix it.
Oh
As a
no,
matter of fact, the national debt went up under him.
oh yeah,
And then
yeah.
this thing with the tariffs, the Chinese tariff I can kind of get. Mexican one I can kind of get. Was not aware that fentanyl was a major issue coming across the Canadian border.
Neither was I, but apparently it is, and this is something that's happened relatively recently. And again, it makes all the sense in the world, because we put all our concentration at the southern border. And so,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody is determined to break in your house and you lock the
Well,
front
they're right.
door, but you
They're gonna
leave
go
the
to the
back
back
door
door.
open, yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to come in through your back
Yeah, but
door.
but we're putting tariffs on Canadian goods,
Hmm.
which is in turn going to hurt us,
Hmm.
the consumer.
Oh yeah.
But and then it's going to hurt the Canadian consumers. And the last time I checked, I've been across the Canadian border.
Hmm.
They're not that. I mean, what more does he want them to do?
Well, I think I think this goes along. Every time he does something that I don't understand, I sit back. Okay, so
Well,
like
right,
the
and that's
exec.
kind of what I was going to say is, right now to me it looks a little squirrely, but there's got to be something else going on somewhere or somehow that is going to make this make sense.
Well, like the point I was going to make is like the executive order to end birthright citizenship. Now, first off, the executive office does not have the authority to unilaterally ignore a constitutional amendment. Period. They don't have the ability to do that. So, and you can't reverse it. Now,
Hmm.
there's no way for it to stand up in court, especially with the Supreme Court that we have, where he was responsible for two justices that were, very much
Hmm.
constitutional justices. Okay. Be that as it may, but again, I didn't understand that until I didn't understand it at all, and I have to admit that I heard, um, is it Tully? I cannot remember his name. He's a commentator and he's a legal analyst. He's on Fox News. Any rate, he made the comment that it is bringing visibility to the issue.
Hmm.
And that may be what he's doing. I don't know. But again, I saw him do stuff in his first term that I raised an eyebrow at as well. And when it finally played out amongst all of the hand wringing from the Democrats and the two impeachments,
Hmm.
Russiagate, all of the other witch hunts, when it finally, Mueller, when it finally
Hmm.
all petered out, it was like, at least it got it into the vernacular, into the vocabulary, and people were paying attention to it.
Mhm. Well, and
So,
but that one actually, when he says that though, if you actually read the 14th Amendment, there
mhm.
is some area to where it could be interpreted that birthright citizenship does not exist.
Well, and I agree. And again, we know the whole purpose of of that
But
amendment was
the key,
because. Go ahead.
well, I mean, the key point about this is when you are a constitutionalist or an originalist,
Right.
you try to work out what the people were voting for, thought they were voting for when they made and wrote
When they
the
wrote
amendment.
the law,
Well,
exactly.
the
Mhm,
key point about this is we have the notes and the letters from the man that wrote the amendment,
mhm.
and according to what he said with that law, with under the jurisdiction thereof, was to maintain that if they just come over and had a baby, that they were not subject to
Correct.
the laws of the United States.
Right. Exactly. And that is the point. And no other country on the planet does that, and for good reason, because people come in to the US and have babies all the time. And they're not citizens. They've never hit a lick. They've never paid a penny in taxes.
I'm
And
kind of scared though
of what? I mean, I've
of
got a long
ICE,
list.
of ICE.
Well, when you
But
bring that up,
because I'm in here as an illegal alien from Turks and Caicos,
okay,
and
I
I'm sitting
understand.
here with my bags packed. If y'all want to come send me back,
Well, now, so the situation again, this is one of those things. My girlfriend is from Costa Rica. She's here on a green
lovely
card.
lady, beautiful young lady.
Hmm. And
What she sees in you, I ain't yet figured out, but
well,
that's
me
another
either,
story.
me either. But the thing is that they're all being told all. She works in an immersion language program, which
Hmm.
has a large number of legal immigrants who work here under green cards because
Okay.
we're in America, we don't hardly take the time to learn anybody's language except English, and we butcher it. Okay, now so you got to bring
King
somebody that can.
Charles would be so embarrassed.
Oh, I know, but they yeah, got to bring somebody that can actually speak the language into the U.S. so we know what to know how to we can at least teach it to somebody that might be able to speak it. Anyway, but they've been telling them that they have to carry their green cards with them all the time. And they're scaring them to death. This is coming from the education board and whatnot.
Hmm.
And it's like, and she was talking to me about, she was really concerned. And I said, baby doll, have you raped anybody? Have you knocked off a liquor store? Have you murdered anybody? I mean, and of course she said no. And I said, then you got nothing to worry about. They're not going to deport people that are here legally. They're
Not
just not.
legally.
Okay. Now, if you're here illegally, you've broken the law. If you've overstayed your visa, you've broken the law. Now, I do understand and I do fully believe that the pendulum is going to overcorrect because it always does.
Hmm.
It always overcorrects.
Right.
So I am concerned, but just keep your butt low and your powder dry is all I'm saying. And there's, if you hadn't done anything wrong, don't sweat it.
That's right.
But anyway, sorry.
However,
However,
they wish they could deport me and you, but we were born here. We
oh,
were
I know.
here.
I guarantee you, there's a
They
few
stuck
people.
with our asses.
That's it. So
You were mentioning earlier about listeners, and we have a surprisingly large contingent of people listening in the great nation of Singapore.
now, so here's my question: Is are, is this a derivation of the Chinese water torture?
Well, it very well could be.
Are
We
they
may
really?
be the new Chinese water torture.
That's it. Shut up, or we're going to force you to listen to the Carolina Underground on loop
In Singapore.
in Singapore. Clearly, you've never been to Singapore. Oh,
Oh man, but
all right. Well, this is
I
going
kind
down
of, but
fast.
it usually does.
Yeah.
But it we were I was every so often, American Experience by Ken Burns.
Mm-hmm.
They do biographies of certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Burns is he made the Civil War series
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
fame, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
his stuff is usually very well done.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, I had purchased one of the seasons of the American Experience, and the American Experience is when it goes in and talks about prolific people throughout American history.
Mm-hmm.
And two of the episodes in the season that I got it's essentially covering the life of Mark Twain.
Okay.
And Twain became toward the end, particularly when his son died and his daughter died, and he became so disillusioned with the way that the American government was doing things
Mm-hmm.
that even then,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking the late 1800s, the early 1900s, he stayed out of the country for almost a decade.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like you go back and read some of his commentary and some of his comments and about Congress being the great old home of the benevolent idiots that couldn't put two ideas together.
yeah.
And it's like it hasn't changed. And you're
No.
thinking, well, if it's been like that since the late 1800s, what hope is there to change it now? Should we not pick up the Declaration and say it is our duty as Americans, when this government no longer works, to go out and remove it from power and create another one?
Well, the answer is yes, we should. But the whole problem is now, and I was having a conversation about this with my son too. I had when I'm watching TV, it's usually on a documentary or some show that's mildly educational. And we were eating dinner because he
Hmm.
was visiting for a change, and he had
Well,
some
that's a
stuff he
good
needed to do.
kid. It's
Yeah,
seeing his daddy.
yeah, he was hungry. He's a young man. I had to feed him. But anyway, be that as it may, he I had it on. I thought it would be interesting. It was about mysteries of the Bible or something like that. It
Oh,
was one of
that's a good.
those. Yeah.
I like that show. That's a good show. I've watched some of those.
Well, that wasn't the name of the show, but that was the title of the episode. I can't
Oh,
recall
okay.
exactly which one of them it was. And those are always interesting. I don't usually agree with a lot of the conclusions and stuff that they come up with,
Hmm.
but it's interesting to hear what their take is. Well, regardless, we got into the discussion as a result because they were basically bringing a whole lot of things into question, like the virgin birth and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Why didn't the Bible give you, what about the missing years of Jesus? Well, the reason they're not there, very simply, is they're irrelevant. The person of Jesus, the personhood of Jesus, and I want to be clear about this, the personhood of
Hmm.
Jesus was irrelevant to the message of Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God who walked the earth. His personhood was only relevant because he was God made man. Okay. And so
Okay.
that's why none of that stuff, but at any rate, both of us got a little bit fired up about the whole thing because it's one of those of, we fight about this kind of stuff all the time. How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? Okay. Well, it's irrelevant. Okay. It makes no difference. That's not important to the message that's being given. What's
Right.
the message
If you
being
were
given?
sitting around worrying about that,
Yeah.
kind of like what's the old saying? You picking that shit out of pepper.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just and there's a bunch of more, a bunch of sayings like that because people tend to do this and we
Hmm.
tend to quibble over nonsense. Another thing I watched not too terribly long ago was a documentary called How the World Ends. And as I'm sitting there watching this thing, we've got the Geyser Park in Yellowstone
Hmm.
is the it is the top of a gigantic, massive volcano. that if it were
Yeah,
to,
because I watched a documentary about the super volcano under
yeah,
Yellowstone. That
and
is scary. That
yeah,
is legitimately scary.
well, that's terrifying. Okay, and then they went through and talked about what happens when you detonate a multi-megaton nuclear device just under the water surface, and the 200-foot tall tidal waves that would create. And then of course they could drop a nuke into Yellowstone and cause that to erupt. Now, and that's a world-ending event if that
Right.
happens. I mean, that's end of life on Earth. Well, not all life
Well,
on
I
Earth,
saw. Well,
but
there was
we're
a
done. Yeah.
and well, in correlation to that,
Hmm.
there was somebody said, well, North Korea has a missile that can hit the United States.
I'm sure they do.
Well, no, but here was the point of what they were saying, and they said,
Mhm.
well, but we have 82 missiles pointed at Korea.
Well,
And
so
then the question was, is how many missiles does it take to destroy Korea? And the answer is 82.
yeah, but here's the point. The point that I was trying to make is, okay, so we've got we just not too terribly long ago had an asteroid the size of a split level house that just cruised into orbit around the Earth, hanging out with the sun. So we had two moons for a while, and we've had recent
That was
asteroids,
my
meteors
wife
come
told me
in.
that was a hoax.
She's wrong. I mean,
She said it was a hoax because up the sky, when you look out at night,
uh,
that's just a glass thing, and they painted pictures on it.
oh yeah, that's right. She's a flat earther. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, but we got meteorites
I'm
that have come
sorry. You're
down.
sorry. I'm married to the heifer.
Yeah, I understand, and I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. But you got the point of the matter that I was trying to make is we've got so many reasons, so many things out there, so many guns pointed to at our head that could destroy us at any given instant. And we're wasting time worried about, worried about how much money we're going to make. Okay. And stuff like that. Now,
Or we're worried about kids deciding they're cats and
right.
shitting in a litter box.
And shitting in a litter box. And you know what? It's just absolute. And the reason that we stay wound up over this crap, and again, we've talked
Well,
about this
that's
before.
twofold. That's twofold.
Well,
My
one of the
assessment
reasons,
of it.
one of the
Well,
reasons.
I say it's twofold.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what my reason is, and I'll let you
All
tell me
right.
what yours are. So my reason is we've got 11 families that have owned 90% or more of the resources of the planet since, at the very least, since the 1400s. And it's the same families. And so what do? They prevent people from learning. From learning enough so that they can discern the truth for themselves to the best of their ability. They hide knowledge. They play games with people, and they keep you constantly terrified of whatever it is. They're herding sheep. And again, how many times are we referred to as sheep in the Bible? Okay. And anyway, so the bottom line is we gotta stop. We gotta start using some common sense and think about what's really important, because in this life, there's only a few things you gotta do. You have to lay down and sleep sometimes. You
Right.
have to eat. You have to drink. You
You got
gotta
to pay
poop.
taxes.
No, you don't. They'll put you in jail.
Well, I know, but I don't like pooping in jail because that
Yeah.
toilet's made out of metal and it's cold.
Well, no, I know, but you follow me. The
I'm not
phrase
going to tell you how I know that because
I
that would be telling a story.
I will spare you from that burden. But the point of the matter is, this is something I heard not too terribly long ago, and I thought it was a great quote. Power resides where people believe that it resides. Period. Nobody has power. They think they do, but they really don't. Now, I'm sorry. Now that I've done my rant, go ahead. What were your twofold reasons?
My twofold reason was the legacy media and the government.
Well, that goes right into what I was saying. So
Yeah.
that's
So
just,
we were right there together.
yeah, you just bifurcated.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Amazing.
We just
Unbelievable.
we are so much more intelligent that we just come up with the right answers all the time.
Well, and I'll agree with you on that. I'm not sure why, but, and if our listeners in Singapore agree with us, then hey, how can what, 50 people in Singapore be wrong?
Uh,
I'm
and if
kidding.
they don't, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, baby.
Far enough. All right, man. So now I'm completely ranted out. So I don't know.
Well,
Well,
well, that's unusual for you. I mean, you shot your wad early tonight.
well, I got something for you. That's kind of I heard a
All right.
comedian talk about the pyramids, and he says, I don't believe in the pyramids. He said, so according to Egyptologists, about 4,000 years before Christ, the Egyptians built the pyramids, and they hadn't built shit ever since.
Well, that's true.
They said, now, okay, I hear what you're saying. Well, they had the Jews build the pyramids. He says, now, and I have a problem with that too. Now, I can believe that the Jews got the contract, but I believe that they hired a bunch of Mexicans to build the pyramids. And I thought, the man's got a point.
Well, he does. I'm glad he's a comedian.
Yeah, me too.
I have listened to Roseanne's #1 song, "Daddy's Home."
Okay.
I just want to say this. I love Roseanne.
All right.
I have always loved Roseanne. I thought she was funny. Even when she did the national anthem that everybody hated, I thought I saw the humor that was meant to be and that it was meant to be, and it made me giggle.
Okay.
But this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And she's in there doing it. She's got blonde dreadlocks and all this jewelry and stuff on her. And Eminem was coming out and rapping for Kamala and all that. And the line in the song is, "Screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne." And I'm like, that is absolutely hilarious. But she is, I think he teamed up with, there's a Christian kind of right wing white rapper. I think his name is Tom McDonald.
Hmm.
And he's done a lot of, let's just say, songs that a lot of the mainstream people in music and television and entertainment do not find very palatable.
Oh, I don't think it's real hard to put something out that people in Hollywood don't find palatable.
Oh,
But go
it's
ahead.
not. But
Yeah.
it's just, they did a great job. There's another one talking about, I can't remember if it was him. I think he was tied to it, talking about it from a kid's view of the kids trying to be girls and stuff like that. And he's saying,
Oh, Lord.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Well, I mean, it's just, they are very much using their platform and voices to reflect the reflection of stupidity that the other side seems to think that most people in America are.
Well, and one of the things, and this was another meme that stuck in my head for you, and I'm going to butcher it, but I thought it was hilarious. It said, it was to the effect of, just so you know, when God calls you for his purpose, he takes into account your stupidity. And that is one of the most comforting things I've ever heard.
Well, that is true.
Well, you kind of have to. Sorry. But I find it comforting. I do. It's like, okay, I know you're stupid. Well, and if you look at the prophets in the Bible, I mean, Jonah, for goodness sake, said, I ain't gonna talk to those people. Go talk to those people. I'm not gonna talk to those people. I'm gonna get on a boat. I'm gonna have you swallowed by a fish, Jonah. He swallows him fish swallows him, spits him out.
Wait a minute.
So he goes
Wait a
and
minute.
talks to
Point of
people.
order. Point of
Yeah.
order. A whale is a mammal.
It was fine. I don't care.
I
It's
beat the
immaterial.
science guy. I'm
No.
Mike, bitch.
No, it's actually I think it's Leviathan is what the
Leviathan,
term it
yeah.
is, and we ain't got none of them that I'm aware of.
I
So
know because Cutler Beckett from the East India Trading Company forced
right.
Davy Jones to kill it.
Well, no, that was the Kraken.
Oh, same difference.
Not quite, but there you go.
There's
But
a
any
big,
rate,
stinky, fishy looking thing.
well, there you go. But anyway, so it is what it is, and regardless, the point being that and then again after he did the speaking, he got mad because they listened to what he had to say. And I imagine, if I saw a fish swim up on shore and spit somebody out and they said, all right, y'all need to listen to me, I believe I'd listen to what they had to say.
I think I would too. That would kind of be, that would make you think.
What is that guy saying? I don't know, but a fish just spit him out.
It could be like
Shut
the
up.
Mr. Limpet.
That's it. The incredible Mr. Limpet.
Mr. Limpet.
So anyway, I think I've led us into a conversational
Oh,
cul-de-sac.
well,
You better do a 3-point turn and get out of here quick.
well, we will. We're running out of time anyway, so we'll just put it in 4-wheel drive and go across the yard.
Roger that.
But we're going to leave it on this. I think
right.
This sums up my feelings and your feelings about life in America today.
America.
The government should be and is a servant, not a ruler, and its role is to obey orders, not create them.
Yep, I agree.
And with that, that is the snout to the curly tail. And contrary to popular belief, we can run a whorehouse. We wouldn't bankrupt a whorehouse.
I don't know that is a ringing endorsement, nor do I think I want to try. But go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
There ain't but one thing to say after that. We gone.
Have a good evening.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND. Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND. Get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.